Hey guys, and welcome back to Stock Talk on September 26th. This is the S&P 500 that you're looking at on the yearly chart. Now, in the previous video, right, we didn't do one yesterday, but I told you guys to be watching out for the meeting minutes that was going to be coming out at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I reminded the members in the Discord chat as well today, and what I was looking for was really the reaction after the release and how we go into the release, because that's really important. Now, I don't know if you guys were watching, but I was keeping a close tab on a couple of tickers, and I'll just give you guys one of them. One of them was Netflix, right? Obviously a major component of the the NASDAQ, but looking at SPY, we saw Netflix at one point, I think, over 4%. And this was before the minutes were being released. And I was looking at this, I'm like, man, these stocks seem a little bit bloated. And what do I mean by bloated? It seems just overextended, overvalued at a current time period intraday. Okay, I'm not talking about long term, but intraday, it seems like this move is quite massive. Can we sustain this move after the minutes come out? That was really the question. And initially, we did sustain the move. You guys can see that we did sustain the move to the upside, but we did sell off near the end of the day. Now, I want to talk about the S&P 500 because you guys can see the initial reaction was positive, but a lot of the times, what you guys can see from these major news events is the initial reaction is the wrong reaction. It happens a lot, and I see this all the time. So here it is. We got a sell-off on the S&P 500. Where did we go to once we started selling off? Well, here's a support line, guys. 289.31. Did we hit it? Okay, we missed it by 10 cents. You know, okay, oops. Support line off. But for the most part, right, we gravitated towards the support line, and that's where we ended, right? Pretty much closed near there. And, you know, you guys are looking at charts all the time. You look at the intraday chart, you have to ask yourself, why didn't we sell off below that? Well, that's the reason, right? Because we have a support area, a very well-grounded support area. Now, you're going to be asking me, I know you're the question, what do you see in the markets going forward? Have we finished the bull run? Well, let me just show you guys this. You guys, you know, if I show you guys this chart, you should see that the 20-period moving average has held the support every single time. Does it mean that it has to hold the support today, tomorrow? No, right? Of course not. However, that's something to keep in mind, number one. And this trend is obviously on an uptrend. It's a bullish trend, right? And we could find a reversal area near the 20-period moving average as we have in the past. That's number one. Number two, know how here's the 50-period moving average curving up. Here's the next support, 287.27. I would not be surprised if we hit 287.27, okay? And that's where we would find the area of support in which buyers would come in. I would not be surprised at all. So those are the two scenarios that I'm looking at. If it drops below that with a rather impulsive close tomorrow, we'll talk about different scenarios going forward. But for now, there's nothing in the making in terms of a 5 to 10% correction, right? Right, this just is normal market behavior following just the release of the, you know, the meeting minutes. So not too much here. So that's the S&P 500. All right, guys, here's volatility, TVIX. So the one thing about volatility is you guys can see that we formed a near-term base at around 25.82. We did make a yearly low yesterday. That's just something to keep in mind. Is there potential for volatility to increase? Sure, it can. Remember, now the scenario is a little different from yesterday and the day before yesterday in that we finally found that base, we found that sell-off that's occurred, and there's potential to sell off just a tad bit more before I feel like, you know, the markets will reverse and go back to the upside again. So you guys can see that here we are right now. Is there potential for this one to go higher? Yes, but we really have to analyze this chart, you know, on a day basis, on a minute, hourly basis. It's hard to conclude something just from the yearly chart here unless you're just kind of saying, oh, we went up today, and that's pretty much it. We have a near-term resistance pretty much around 28.81, so that's around the dollars away. But then the long, should we go higher than $30, we do have it resistance around $31. That's something to keep in mind. But you guys can imagine, how quickly we could potentially sell off if we even do hit that level, right? And that's just something you want to keep in mind if you do go into volatility. All right. 4/CL or crude oil futures. Guys, before I go into this chart, you guys would know what to do, right? Please hit that thumbs up button or tap that thumbs up button. Guys, hopefully you guys enjoy these videos like always. And if you do enjoy it, all you guys need to do is just hit that thumbs up button. And that's it. Pretty easy. If you guys didn't enjoy it, I hope you enjoy it in the future and learn something from it. So here's crude oil, right? On the yearly chart. We've talked about, and this is regardless of what Trump says or, in the OPEC, about OPEC and whatnot. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just looking at technicals. What are we seeing right now? We've talked about this uptrend quite a bit, and it's continuing. And the likely scenario is a continuation to the upside. Can it come down and retest this 70.81 area? Of course. But what's the general trend? To the resistance line, right? At 74.32. So that's what I'm looking for the long term. And the near term, right? It's right now it's stationary. Sure, it could go sideways before we hit that next leg higher, right? But the momentum is to the upside, obviously. Now the big picture we're really looking at is the resistance of 76.40. Talk about more about that resistance in the future because we've never hit 76.40, but should we start crossing over this resistance, we've got a good chance at that area. But we'll talk about it when we get there. I don't think we're going to get there that quickly. It just doesn't feel like it, but might be sooner than you think. All right, so the ticker, if you guys are pro crude oil, would be UWT, right? UWT is the ETF that follows crude oil. And you guys can see that today we sold off a little bit following the decline of crude oil just a tad bit. But here's the near term area, 39.62. And the thing that you want to be cautious of course, is that we are nearing the upper end of the spectrum. But you guys can expect as crude oil does push, if and when it does push higher, this one would push higher as well. And that's just something for you guys to take note of as you move forward. 4/NG or natural gas futures. Okay, so now natural gas, now this was really interesting because you guys can see how natural gas following the meeting, so I'm going to show you guys where is that 2 o'clock. Actually, before the meeting, we had a major sell-off, and then we kind of recovered only to sell off even more. Now, that is something that is unexpected, right? I personally did not expect this sell-off, and which is why, sometimes you guys can imagine how tricky it is for this pattern, to be playing out. So while we did have an uptrend and, the speculation was we'll hit 3.162, we actually closed below the resistance or the previous support, but the resistance area, right? Isn't that interesting? Okay, so what does that mean? What do you guys think it means? Well, it obviously shows that we are on a short-term downtrend. It's likely that we'll start hitting this level of 2.901. And should we, it just really depends. Now we have to take this day by day because we had a continuation move to the upside, but we sold off so quickly that this is a cause for concern for natural gas. This candle itself is a cause. Can it recover? It can, but now it's got to give me a couple of days of definitive evidence that it can hold above support areas, right? But until that happens, the one that is interesting has to be DGAZ. Why? Here's the support area, 1786. We've drawn this in. I did not put this in today. It's bouncing off of the support. Isn't that interesting how we just did that? Okay. 4/GC. So the next commodity we're looking at is gold futures. And gold, gold's story hasn't changed all that much. And, you know, you guys know this story, how in the short term, we can be forming a what? A bull flag pattern. Now, this is an extended bull flag. That's fine. That could potentially play out to the upside. However, since gold has been dropping for so much and so long, this is actually for a period of 2 months, I don't mind us consolidating this long, but we really have to see a close, a daily close above, at the very least, 12.11, 12.12, at the very least. And that's just calling it very leniently. And like I said, for potential gold traders, you know, if you guys are in gold, and this is not, you know, not telling you to go in or anything or go out, but in my opinion, you know, there's a lot, if gold closes above resistance areas, there's plenty of time to go into gold, right? There's plenty of ways in which gold can recover. There's lots of percentages for it to recover. But you guys can imagine, if the momentum is pushing it to the downside, even though we're forming a potentially a consolidation move back to the upside, it's just a little risky. And that's just something you have to gauge yourself if you're willing to take that risk. The one that follows G4/GC is JNUG, JNUG. I showed you guys this chart in the past in which we were holding over the 20-period moving average, and all of a sudden we closed below the 20-period moving average. Again, not a very good sign for gold. And now, because it broke down a major moving average, I got to see some more definitive evidence that it can consolidate at an area of support. And from this chart, where's the support area? Well, the near-term support is around 722, but I really need to see some sort of pattern. And right now, all I'm seeing is red, 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 and now it's going back down again. And this is why it's, you know, this is becoming difficult in terms of finding an entry into gold, if at least right now. Okay, right now. So, all right, guys, let's take a look at a couple of your tickers. Now, I'll tackle a couple of your tickers that you guys commented on the YouTube page, and thank you a lot for that. And if I don't get to your ticker, I'll try to tackle it tomorrow or in future Stock Talks. So I'm not leaving you out on purpose. It's just for the purpose of kind of this video. We'll pick out some of them. The first one submitted through Facebook, so thank you for that. And it's APH. APH, you guys can see that, you know, overall, it's not bad, right? If I drew in a support line, the support line would look something like that. But then you have to ask yourself, where are we right now? And we're pretty much overextended, right? Because the support line, should we get to it, has to be around $91.80. And guys, you guys can do all this and much, much more. We're looking at the daily chart or the yearly chart of this, but you guys can do much, much more, identifying buying, selling, entry, exit points, where to potentially set a stop loss, how to get in, how to analyze market psychology, so much more in the course. And this is something I teach profusely. This is something I really put all my efforts into. And you know, you guys can talk to the members in our course as well if you're interested, to see how much they've benefited, because we kind of actively communicate really on a daily basis with the members. So yeah, keep that in mind. In the meantime, you guys can see that's the support, right? Yes, we do have a near-term support at 93.57, but do we have an area of reversal? We have to see some sort of sign of reversal. No, this momentum is pulling it lower, so the likely scenario is it is going to go lower. One thing to keep in mind is we do have earnings coming up on 10/23, I believe. So that is a little, you know, over a month, a little 10/24, so a month away. You know, that's something to keep in mind, because you guys can see what happened during earnings, right? Decision day, right at support, big move higher. What was down here, right? You guys can see we're on the low point, decision day, and then we pulled lower initially and then moved higher. That's something you have to note. Okay, really, why are we moving down? It could be, you know, the decision day would be at 91.70 or 92.34. Wouldn't that be the best story to tell? It would, right? That's where stocks like to go to. I'm not saying that it would, but you know, that's just one scenario in which it could happen. All right, let's take a look at another ticker, Draxon. So let's take a look at this one. DWDP. Keep the DWDP. Keep the awesome content coming, please. All right. So, well, this chart speaks for itself, right? Dow DuPont. What happened today? Breaking below the support. What's happening now? From me to you, and without even, you know, what is this? What kind of pattern is this? Yikes, right? So not good. The likely scenario is a continuation move to the downside. And, you know, I think it was good for you to talk about it 2 days ago, because you can imagine 2 days ago we fell right here. But once we closed yesterday, you know, that is really your signal of caution. Let's take a look at the yeah. Is there anything to say more about this chart, right? This is really just kind of stands out. All right, thanks Traxon for the ticker. Very interesting trend, right? Hey Kevin Tony, so we'll take a look at Twitter. All right, Twitter. So for Twitter, the thing we talked about Twitter is, if you've watched my videos in the past, I talked about this, I believe, 2 months ago, after this red candle formed. I talked about it 1 month ago. I talked about it this month, and I'm glad you're bringing it up again, because every time after this major candle had formed, I said that Twitter is in big trouble, and it's on its path down. Can it recover a portion of this red? It can, but the major trend is to the downside, just based off of technicals. It's not too difficult. Where's the near-term support? I put the near-term support at 28.91. Does it have to hold? And the answer is a big, resounding no. As a matter of fact, I do believe, you know, and this is just my intuition, but based off of the massive rejection signal that we got, there's likely lower prices to come. Can we consolidate at this area of support? Sure we can, because we consolidated in the past for a couple of months. But should we start breaking, which is possible, very certainly possible, we're looking at, you know, another area of 2367, potentially the area of 2027 as a support, or possibly even 1477 as the next areas of support. Note, those prices are along, you know, are very far away from now. However, it is in the realm of possibility that we will drop to those areas. That's something interesting to know, you know. So anyhow, you know, that's Twitter for you guys. And guys, with that, I'm going to keep it to these tickers. Thank you so much for watching these videos. And, you know, once again, please continue to submit your tickers in the comment section down below. I read every single comment and every single ticker. So keep those coming. And if I didn't tackle your ticker, feel free to, you know, put another comment down there in terms of the ticker that you want to see. Otherwise, I'll just browse through in the next few stock talks and just talk about the ones that I missed. So, you know, I appreciate everyone's support, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another stock talk. Now, tomorrow, very interesting days, right? We're watching the S&P 500. We're watching general market movement, because we're getting into the area in which, in my opinion, I'm looking for some sort of reversal sign back to the upside. Nothing happening yet, so I'm watching it. So thank you guys very much for your time, and happy trading. See you guys tomorrow.